Welcome, dear students. My name is Professor R.K. Tomar. Today, I'm going to speak about Introduction to International Business. We have in MBA second year this core subject, which is known as International Business Management. Today, I will be giving you a brief glimpse of the topic related to international business management. Our contents for the day will be Introduction to International Business, nature and scope and features of international business, importance of international business, approaches of international business, problems in international business, various strategies for entry into international business, advantages and disadvantages of international business, reasons for recent international business growth, and international organizations. So I would like to throw glimpses over various points associated to the contents which I have mentioned. Now, what do you mean by international business? International business is like a normal business. Business means exchange of goods and services. Exchange of goods and services, which means that when a person is going to buy a product or a service, the customer have to pay to the supplier, to the service provider, or to the provider of the goods, the prices for using that product or prices for using that services or purchasing that product. Needless to say, we need to differentiate between product and services. Although it will be a long topic to discuss here, what is the difference between product and services? Product purchasing results in exchange of ownership of goods, whereas services do not results in exchange of ownerships of goods. So the exchange of goods and services in a business, generally there are two parties. The first one is a buyer and the second party is the seller. Seller is a person who is providing the services or who is providing the product, and buyer is the person known as customer. So when I talk about a normal business, a domestic business, it have certain foundation, it have certain limitation. In general terms, business have limitations over area, geographical area, limitations over geographical contents, boundaries, and economic barriers. So business cannot go away or it cannot spread across various seasons, various regions, or various regions before passing the barriers of economic businesses. So when I talk about domestic business is restricted to a particular area. About exchanging of goods and services, let us say a company called Atlas Cycle, which is a manufacturer of cycle and sports goods. They are manufacturing in an area, let us say Noida. The company is manufacturing their products and supplying their products to the local area or to the restricted area of the zone of UP. So in order to promote their products outside the zone of UP, they need permissions. They need to cross the trade barriers of other states. Suppose the Atlas company want to sell their products in Rajasthan, they need to supply their products to Rajasthan and they need to cross the border. So that trade barriers have to be crossed. So in spreading this trade barriers or in giving a much holistic look over the trade barriers, the state barriers now governed by the country barriers, and the various countries have various agreements. So it is a common fact that India is manufacturing various products and exporting to different countries, whether related to cotton, whether related to spices, whether related to iron ore, steels, etc. So these products are manufactured in India and they are sell abroad. So exchange of goods and services between two entities or between individuals and businesses is known as a business, and the transactions which are carried out across national borders to satisfy the objectives of individuals and organizations. So generally trade agreement arises only because of the fact that there are two parties, buyer and seller. The buyer is having a shortage of a product and shortage of a services. He will have no other option but to purchase the product from the supplier. So likewise in domestic, and if likewise in international business, there are two countries, country X and country Y. The country X is a manufacturer of electronic equipments, and country Y is a purchaser of that electronic equipments. Country Y will be known as importing country, and country X, who will be manufacturing and supplying to country Y, will be known as exporting country. So in international business, there are two common terms. One is export and another one is import. Export is done by the supplier and import is done by the buyer. Now, there are various factors associated to purchasing of these products and services. There are various factors associated to this buying and selling. So it is not so easy to export and it is not so easy to import. Countries have their own restrictions, their own economy, their own political system. And to cross that political system, to cross that economic barriers, the companies and the organizations have to fight. Because when we are talking about international business, you are exposed to global business. And in globalization, there is generally no rule but to win. So all commercial transaction which takes place between two or more countries are example of international business. In India, we are generally on the large scale, we are importing various electronics and telecom equipments from abroad, maybe from Taiwan, maybe from Japan, and maybe from other countries. So we are importing this various technologies from outside. Even we are importing automobile technologies. Hyundai Motor is one of the example. Hyundai Motor is a South Korean company which is manufacturing the most of the equipments in South Korea. They are importing back to India to the production unit which is located in India, and they are assembling their products and selling their products in India. So this is how the import and exporting is done. The most important part, I will come to it later, they need to be an agreement between the two countries and there should be a need. So we cannot sustain business when there is no need. We have to have a business need. So all commercial transactions which takes place between two or more countries are example of international businesses. Now these international business transactions can be between private sector and government sector. Okay, recent trends, Rafale is very common. Rafale is a company, Rafale is a product, is a defense equipment which is manufactured by a French company called Dassault. Now this Dassault is manufacturing this private defense equipment and selling it to the government of India. So this is an example of private and government international business. Then the international business can be between different international business, sales of products and sales and services. Then investments, it involves investments. It involves logistics. Logistics means supply of product from one place to another. Domestically or in domestic terms, it is very, it's not a big problem. But when you are crossing countries, they are governed by different laws, different regulations, and the companies need to take care well in advance how to cross this border and how to have these issues resolved. Then after logistics, transportation. Transportation, when you talk about heavy equipments are generally exported or imported to different countries through shipments, through by sea. And when you talk about light equipments, they are transported with the help of by air means. So I have given you quoted example related to international business, how you can use them, and what is the type of international business what we are into. I've given an introduction. So now let us talk about the nature of international business. Now, as I talk about globalization, globalization is a trending word nowadays. Everybody want globalization. Even not even industries, but our entertainment industry is also globalized. As you can see, Universal Pictures are the examples of international trends towards globalization. So we are taking help from abroad, from other countries in the manufacturing and supplying of international entertainment industries. So the nature is globalization. When you talk about globalization, when you talk about international business, it is accurate information and timely. Information is very important and it should be timely utilized. The petrol prices are rising. Okay. So will that have an effect? Yes, definitely. It will have an effect. So when the petrol prices are rising, it will have an effect on the sale and purchase of various equipments. Secondly, the country X have increased their import duty charges. There are two countries in business, country X and country Y. Country X is the importing country and country Y is exporting country. Suddenly, a new political setup or new political system is introduced in country X, and country X have increased the trade barrier, the tariffs related to import duties that will affect the international business. So that is why the importance of information should be timely. Because if we do not work according to the time, according to the information, definitely the international business is going to end up in loss. Number two, the size of international business. As nature of international business that we are discussing, the size of international business is quite vast as understood. Nowadays, many companies are coming up with virtual platforms. They do not have to invest more on their production houses. But what is happening? The size of international business is growing. Even a small office in Delhi can have multiple branches across various countries. A single company, a small company, have multiple branches. Amazon is a very good example. Amazon company have their online e-commerce platforms, not having a proper setup, but they are having branches all over the country as well as global. And it has become one of the major global supplier across the world. So it have created a marketplace, in fact. It have created a marketplace, and that marketplace is affecting other businesses, small businesses, in fact. Small businesses in that country where this company is working. So size of international business is absolutely depends upon the agreement and the countries where the company is working. Then market segmentation. Market segmentation means dividing the market to conquer the market, dividing the market into manageable segments. That is what is market segmentation. So globalization focuses only on one part. Generally, if I, as I've taken the example of the company called Amazon, Amazon is a company who's dealing into e-commerce. It is providing a merchandising platform where many companies, many organizations come in, peep in, and they grow their business with the support of this company called Amazon. But on other scale, apart from e-commerce, when I talk about automobile sector, when I talk about technology sectors, the company have to go for market segmentation. Okay, the company called Samsung have started manufacturing their mobile phone units in India with the collaboration of the government of India. So this manufacturing unit establishment in our country is an example of proper market segmentation. Then international market have more potential than domestic markets. Okay, so let us compare two countries. The first country is India. The second country is Australia. The population of Australia is how much? How do you expect? The population of Australia is even less than the population of a single state of Madhya Pradesh, that is in India. So the manufacturing part or the manufacturing units which produces products, or the service units which deliver services are huge, and it is over. It is over for to be utilized in a country called Australia. So what they do in the attainment of profit, in the objective of attainment of profit, they need to supply to other countries also. So India is one of the importing countries, and various other Asian countries do import from these developed countries. So why these developed countries focus on overproduction? Because overproduction will solve the problems of the entire world. So production as a whole will be counted, production as a whole will be increased, and in terms of GDP, this total valuation will come to give opportunity for jobs, for industrial development, as well as infrastructure development for the government. So that is about the nature of international business. The next thing I'd like to discuss is the scope of international business. International marketing is one of the growing field nowadays. Multinational companies. We heard about multinational companies, their work culture, okay, their style of working. They are using Six Sigma platforms. They are using quality HR policies, and they are delivering. They are working towards customer relationship management. They are working towards customer satisfaction. So all these terms have arrived after international business came into existence. International marketing is one of the growing field. Many of the young entrepreneurs or the opportunist or the person who are pursuing their professional degree management courses are taking up international marketing as a career. Export and import. Export and import. Even the government is also promoting these export units. You'll be surprised to know that the contribution of India towards the world export is very limited. It is even less than 5 to 7%, and that is very low. So when we want this country to progress, we want any country to progress, not even our country, but when I want any country to progress, we need time. We need export more and import less. We should be self-reliant, self-development person. We should be able to develop the technology that can be imported by other countries, which are beneficial for other. So in that scenario, international marketing plays a vital role. After international marketing, then international finance and investments. I think everybody is aware about WTO, World Trade Organizations, how they are making the guidelines of various developing countries and giving them proper guidance how to develop their GDPs, how to motivate the businessmen of the country, so as the country which are lagging behind can come up at the front line and they start producing, they start increasing their GDPs. International finance and investments are increasing. Many countries are coming to India nowadays for channel partners, for investments. Samsung is one very good example. There are various Japanese companies which are coming, developing on the project called Metro, and even other way also. Indian MNCs. You heard this term, Indian MNCs. Indian MNCs means the company which are having the base plant set up in India, and they are moving outside for export purposes. They are establishing their plant abroad. So Ranbaxy India is one of the example. Ranbaxy is the company which is focusing towards international financing, international investments. Then foreign exchange. Foreign exchange is a major source of revenue. Even a single rupee price change in US dollar and Indian rupees makes up a huge fluctuation in the share market. Single dollar price change in the price of crude oil affects the entire economy. It's very important. So foreign exchange is the scope where international business can have options to. Then global HR. Human resource management is not only centralized, it is now decentralized. We are following the patterns and the working styles of various multinational companies to improve the overall efficiency in the organizations. Previously, there was a simple HR policy, simple HR lineup, line and staff organizations where anybody can come in. Okay, there are some regulations. Everyone had to follow that regulations. So there was no creativity, in fact. But when I talk about global HR means following the models of various companies. Google is one of them. So Google has been ranked as the best employer of the world for the last 2-3 years, I hope, and this year also, if I'm not wrong. This company have provided the global HR regulations, global HR policies for different organizations. And these organizations, when they follow this global HR systems or try to implement that system in the organization, definitely there is a grown positivity and grown increased in efficiency towards the overall organization perspective. So coming to the features is large scale organizations, integrations of economies. Large scale organizations means organization operating at different levels. So increased size in organizations, integration of economies. Integration of economies, needless to say, if we are exporting some products to Germany, then we need to have that German currency and our currency to be crossed so that we can attain maximum benefits. I told you earlier also, the government of India do wants to promote export divisions of India so as we, whether at small or at bigger level, try to explore markets of the worldwide and gain more and more foreign currency, sorry. Okay, then it's dominated by developed countries and MNCs. This is one of the disturbing fact. We'll come to the detailed point later, but at this point of time, as you can understand, there's a huge trade war between US and China. The Americans wants that they are superiors, they are the best, and Chinese wants to show that they are superiors and they are best, whether in terms of technology, whether in terms of manufacturing defense equipments, whether in terms of pharmaceutical industries, and so on. So as we talk about these global world or international business world is generally led by or dominated by these developed countries. So France, to name a few, France is there, UK is there, United States of America is there, China is there, Australia is there. Okay. Now, of course, on the contrary, it is when it is dominated by developed countries, we are having the benefits of developing countries also, not the developed country, but the developing countries also. Through developed countries, the developing countries try to improve their economic situation, because when the country is facing economic integration, when the country is having economic liberty, only then the country can prosper. So that is the benefit of having this international business. Then there's a keen competition. Okay, when you are exposed to the international world, you are having fierce competition. So at the international level, you have to learn about Six Sigmas. At the international level, you have to learn about total quality management. So in terms of production or in terms of services, you need to follow what are the standards of the world, and they need to be properly implemented. Then the special role of science and technology. Innovative countries do progress well. Innovation is very important. And without innovation, what happened to the company called Nokia is a set of example to everybody. It was a Finnish company, started off well, but never worked on innovation. So that is why that company gone down, and other companies overturn or overran this company and take up the leading positions. So then talks about international restrictions. Now these are very common nowadays. So as we are having this pandemic situation, so every country, in order to develop their economic model or in order to develop their own domestic industries, will follow international restrictions. These international restrictions are known as trade barriers. Trade barriers, this concept was introduced by United States of America when they were, in order to save their domestic companies, they they increased the import charges from 5% to 10% and 12%. The sudden increase in import charges will affect the international business community. The other countries which are exporting their products to United States will affect badly in terms of this economic tariffs. So international restrictions, although are part and parcel of the globalization policy or the international business policy, but they must favor the developing countries or the exporting countries. See, if the country is totally focusing on domestic industries, this international restriction will lead to negative international business. This negative international business will further lead to globalization, will further affect globalization and the competitiveness of the entire economy, of the world economy. All the countries are interrelated. Every country is not self-sufficient to produce products and services. They need to import from other countries. They need to import from other countries. No country in the world is having self-sufficient status that it does not require any single thing or any single product from other countries. So in this scenario, I advocate against international restrictions. International restrictions should be normalized or should be reduced so as to promote the international business. My dear friends, so in today's session, I would like to have quickly, we have discussed the definition of international business and how commercial transaction takes place between two or more countries. Then I talked about the nature of international business, then the scope of international business, then the various features related to international business. I hope you have understood the concepts, and for any clarification and confusion, I am ready to help you out. Thank you all.